To stand up for yourself or understand and know your worth is a complex process. It is not something, for some it may be, but most of the time, at least for the people that I know in my own life, completing a program, an accomplishment, or a success doesn't actually equate to understanding myself enough to know when and how to stand up for myself. And if you are an open variety type of person, this may be a challenge that is way beyond what we were taught or what is being what teachings are at this time. One of the things always understand and remember is the textbook based teaching is actually necessary and needed. Why? Because it gives us a more solidified ability to reference what was. And let's face it, not everything that was is trash or no longer relevant. There's a lot of elder types of teachings that are absolutely evergreen. This is where we get all like this is where we get the confusion when it's time to go have fun and the harm is so magnified and it's so confusing, and then we blame God. I've been in some situations being God centered, not God centered like Jesus Christ saved me, God centered like how do I connect with you in this and what do I do? I discovered that most people are dealing on a daily basis with their own karmic issues. And so I started doing these, I started out doing habit reality reframe when I felt and when I felt like I was being gaslit by my children and we'll just call this guy their friend because that's basically what that turned out to be. Their like their little agreements in that, and and I got to see the soul agreement in all of it, in all of our interactions. The spiritual agreements are baseline, maintain what we have, but bring the vibration higher without losing the creativity that's already been established. Because in that way, we've had like indigenous practices and we'll say universal practices becoming more and more integrated, where you want integration but you don't want it to be so fully integrated we're all the same. So even and like knowing, having a knowing of what is really, this is for you, those of you who are out there confused, you don't want to make a mistake or make the wrong choice. A lot of times it's due to abuse, let's just face it. Is anything off kilter, and abuse, remember, is actually it does not discriminate. It doesn't discriminate. So there's just it just has the ability to afford itself to hide better in some circumstances. So those of you who do prop yourselves up on people who have more, I would suggest stop right now. Look at what you have offered to you. Tap within yourself and understand who the fuck you are so you can move forward and be that contribution that all of our souls have agreed to be with each other. So what I found with being, like God-centered, more like, like, yeah, I'm godly, I have the power of choice and control. However, God-centered to me helps me understand there's other people involved. It helps me take more care of myself because I am worthy and valuable, and the ways that judgment had been distorted. It's really hard to like it shouldn't be, but it is hard to discern judgment, because what I realized, I was allowing a lot of, like, I want to say a lot of people. I don't have a lot of people in my life. I don't. And that ended up being by choice, because I knew the magnitude of my anger, of my, like my ick. And when I noticed that things were being set up on an algorithmic level where like one choice can magnify the next choice in like bigger, make it bigger and bigger and bigger, I I clashed with that, and I knew that if I react in the ways that I usually do, which is release the pressure valve and go, like it wouldn't be good for me. And usually that type of learning or beingness is really positive for somebody who has a lot of angst and anger inside. However, you want to have a design to it, like a creative design, like rappers do it. They have that. They have that acknowledgement with that type of energy and pressure, and then they'll, like they do these little rap battles, and I had to realize like people were pegging me in a manner that I have to actually cultivate and practice. However, the amount of technological bombardment I was getting from outside people and sources, it was insane, and it really did drain me, and I was already drained. However, the additional spying and container development around my body and my beingness and my daily activities was really it was intense. It was draining to my, like my body. And so it was overwhelming. I was over processing. I was over processing too. Like if I'm working towards, I'm not really there yet, working towards, is this going to feed, clothe, and house me right now? Then I need to learn how to let this go. Because even if you can save another from themselves or from another, that is in, like not paying attention to your care, especially if people are trying to template you. It's not, it doesn't work out for your purpose. So if you are a really vigilant, hyper vigilant person, or even a really self-centered person, or you're trying to save somebody else for clout or whatever, it does, like, there are designs out there that literally does not work for what your purpose is. So this is why knowing your purpose, knowing what you want, a lot of times understanding your preferences and being in a place of safety to have the ability to own and admit that can be really powerful, and it brings about the healing and the change that we are bombarding each other through other voices to get. That's not, that never worked before. I don't know how people assume that that was going to work because it came from somebody else's lips, but I'm sorry, like that, bombarding somebody with anger and hate, especially if it's not even coming from you. You know, like I got like you get like a tonality of what they're talking about, but that's about it. And then a person's left in fucking confusion. And those who reward those types of systems, you know, if you are really actually going about this stuff looking for a change and a growth with your man or your woman, you're going to have to voice up. You're going to have to figure out who you are. You're going to have to face your your lineage atrocities. You're going to have to face how we are doing business today. And in my world, the God that I speak to, ways that people have been operating, where there's got to be some, you know, harm imposed upon one or many people for a few things to like have a go at it. That's not acceptable, and it's becoming more and more apparent that those things are not acceptable, especially when some of these people have been operating for a long time, basically blaming entities that they summoned to help them. And really what they did is they did the same thing to the wrong ones, basically, you know, which if you see the God in it, it's amazing because they're what I notice when God actually or Mother Earth is actually in control of the situation, things become less daunting. It's less about how I seem or look, and it's more about, okay, how do we meet these people where they're at so that we can get them into balance. There are like these, and that's kind of where we get the miscommunication about what God or Mother Earth is. You know, like I've found that those actual beings are, because I've seen it all. They've seen it all. So when we get a handle on our own preferences and what's going on with us, you know, and really like what I realized too is that somebody who is really into harming another person isn't gonna fucking care about their preferences. They're just gonna do it. And so that is your indicator. Oh, this isn't my person. This isn't my group. This isn't my crowd. If that's what they're into. You know, there's stuff, there's like sprinkles of sprinkle Shira 7. I caught some of her videos a few times, and it's like she has, you know, a way of working with the older demographic of men, and you know, like she works to bring up the feminine self-esteem, and kind of to me she helps one understand like the power of glamour and buying things, and you know, having that that traditional, we'll say that the American classic mindset. You know, she and she does a good job. And her, you know, she'll chuckle at something that seems risque, and she'll go sprinkle. I am finding myself like I'm a deep diver, and when I was told to deep dive within, I did. I did not, and it was hard. It's hard. It wasn't something that I came out of or benefited from, you know, right away. I am actually able to express some of that to you in my perspective, because not all of what I say is going to be a benefit to you. And what I trust is that my videos come into others' reality when they are ready for it, or they have the ability to take action on it. And so that is kind of where I have understood spirituality when I started to establish a spiritually based business. What happened to me is all of my past essences, even though I had worked on myself basically my whole life, came into my reality in an external manner. And what I mean by that is like the energy of it, the people around me, like the people were mimicking that energy. I would get hints of how, like my mother or my brother would talk to me, and I was actually more disturbing to me than I assumed it was, because I went on a like a compulsive obsessive journey to understand spirituality, the quantum, those types of and online spirituality, rather than just set it up and get going, or hurry up and get that call that Marriott to book that seminar. I went within myself because something told me that what we are doing isn't gonna fly for very much longer. And then the COVID came along and kind of brought that into, like, helped me understand that there was some validity and the truth to that message, that intuitive message. And so what I'm, like what is being asked of me is to not totally destroy those dynamics, but continue to feed the ability for the people involved to raise the vibration in it. A lot of times people who establish these things are in severe survival mode and trauma, and we started by addressing that. However, I like trying to coin each other's phrases and techniques and stuff is also a challenge, but it's not doable. And I came from a place where this is where open source really did kick my ass. Is I came from a place that you gave props to whoever's work you were using. You acknowledged that this is what they said, this is how I think about it. And if you've ever gone to school or college, that is already on an understanding and an agreement. When exploring some of my other containers, we'll say, or whatever, because I've realized, like, oh, I've been basically spied on my whole life, like. And with the understanding, when it got into more spirituality work from Dolores Cannon's books, from some of the people that she interviewed, it was like those people described, like, there's a tapestry of all of our experiences, of every being in the whole wide universe recorded. And so that is what I assume some of these technological simulations are uh what is it, portraying, or like expressing, so that we would understand what that's like, so that we can make those transitions as an individual a little bit more seamless, a little bit more welcoming, but like maintain the sacredness of it as well. I found ditching the endearment of stuff is about survival mode. It's like some people got hurt one way too many times and can't really, but we're not in that time where I can't really afford. It's like you can't, like, we're kind of entering into where you can't afford to be an asshole. Like, you can't afford to be utilizing powerful tools in a sneaky manner. And that is what I am seeing, and what has been told to me to come back to, attempt to assert some different teachings, so that those who have been benefiting off of these older systems may actually have somewhat of a chance. And that's not even discriminatory with age, class. There's, like it's basically in in those who misguided teachings intentionally actually are, being held accountable as we speak, actually. And a lot of times, people are so used to not owning their own shit, they don't even know why they're incurring what they're incurring with their pathway. And so that is what my purpose of these classes are. Or the ebook, the free ebook, is just a very light brush about uh, about energetic practices, or practices that incorporate energy, to start helping you slow down a little bit. Because when you're learning about the quantum stuff, there's so much clickbait within those structures, because anybody can really do it, anybody can perform it. uh I found, can anybody actually apply the shit that's being taught, that sounds good to all of us? Why? Because it's real, it's true, but it just doesn't give us the our expression. Your expression is needed in that modality. And whether, monopolizing and taking over on somebody else's process rather than learning how to be with them through their process. And now I'm starting to realize, oh, well, that's part of the benefit of being followed, without your permission. It happens. And that's what I found. I've had to like really understand and learn how to be wrong, but learn how to express myself at the same time, and be like, oh, well, okay, now I get that. What's next? So that was just kind of a real time depiction about what we are dealing with right now. And this is for those who sit behind the camera, the screen, read the data, like, as opposed to those on the ground. And there was just ink, like, what I understand why there were so many unfortunate events coming into my life, and so many people, like, it was a trigger for me, for people to accuse me of things that I didn't do or don't do, because I work really hard at being, like, taking myself into a positive place. But like, I don't only do that for myself, I do that to be an example of that can happen for people that I understand. And no, I want to say, for people that I understand, no, the whole reason why I'm using myself as a guinea pig is because there's just some things with that I don't understand, and so all I can do is be an example of that, and figure out, be okay with failing, if by trying, basically. So, and it has been suggested that there were people, appointed to report on my behavior, and they were lying through their teeth about what I was doing. Meanwhile, I'm not getting any of the amenities of dealing with some of the stuff that some of us are dealing with because of those amenities. And I'm still having to try to put this together so that people understand they have a place to really go into it when that time comes, to go into that, because that is, before all the noise of the net and categories of relationships or financials. What I found the most, if you want, what I'm realizing is, like, that being unafraid of being self-aware and is basically one of the many answers that we don't have afforded to us, freely, or in trend, or in modern day mainstream culture. And I didn't understand that, like, oh, you don't sign up, like, to, because of AI, to not sign up for things so freely. Like, if some, like, the offerings on here sometimes aren't really that, it doesn't have a positive outcome. the way that they say they do. And I've had to learn that, like, oh, I really am on my own with this. And so for now, I am utilizing platforms I know that works for people, and that is, what's going on. And that's where my work and my content and utilizing these social media platforms to get the word out to those that the word belongs to, and understanding that it's not, every now and then I'll get caught up in like, oh, I don't have a lot of likes. But, that's not the intention I put on my posts. The intention I have on my posts is to connect with those who have the willingness to work in integrity with this type of work, because the intention of it is actually taking people's lives into consideration. So to me, it's like the world's not an all bad place to me. It's where people were forced to focus indefinitely. And it's the conclusion that they came about without understanding people. And that's, like, once you understand yourself and face those little tiny, like, a lot of times we don't want to we don't, like, we'd rather be hurtful than be hurt. And so a lot of times we have all these people going and doing shitty stuff, not even knowing if they need to do that or not. And so the format of the game was never appealing to me. It's not. I've always wanted to have the ability to have that conversation and to go a little bit deeper with it, and to have all the touch and exploration in sexuality and sex, and, and to go into that layer underneath the shallow end. I've always wanted to do that, and it's stuck with me now, even though I've been energetically fucking raped and pushed around and verbally abused and struck at times. That's not okay. If you are remoting into other people, that shit is not okay. And nobody's telling you that, because you're learning how to do these in professional establishments. And I'm just saying now, hey, I've been taken to some arenas. They may be true, they may be not. Like, all I know is I believe it, because it's been something, if you want to look at patterns, it's a pattern I've seen my whole life. You fuck around in these ways, you mess with people's ability to grow and strengthen and learn and whatever. Like, there is a force that does have the ability to make it right. And from my understanding, those who are utilizing math as a weapon and taking tallies on a person's behavior without that person being aware of that, like, that's not okay. That's not acceptable. And a lot of times the people who are taking those tallies have no fucking business doing it, because their own life is in shambles. And some people are not even able to attend to their own life because of it. Because they have to be on point, because, like, like, once you're found out, you're found out. Like, there's been a lot of really things that, like, that should be addressed sooner, if not later, like, hopefully sooner than later, so it's not stacking. And the position I was put in on a romantic level, it was not okay. And I'm willing to talk about the digital footprint that people wanted to throw in my face. And yes, I welcome that. And you know what I found with all of that? That energy swaps come with more karma. Invading other people's space and their energies without teaching them effectively comes with a lot of karma, that you are so loved. that, like these unseen beings that you're summoning to hurt people with are trying to figure out what the fuck to do with you. In a way where you have to learn that that shit's not okay, but also affording you the ability to actually have an abundant life as well. Because that's really what you're fucking doing this shit for. And without your story, without my story, without the person's story that you think you have more importance over, like human interaction, becomes nil, dill, dull. What I foresee in some of these creativities that people have done in playing God is like, yeah, you get, like you have that adrenaline, that pump it up. You're doing your Pac-Man thing, but then who do you got left to eat when you're just facing each other? So anytime is a good time to start looking at your own preferences, like allowing yourself to sensitize or desensitize either way, because that's what we're looking at in these ways, and utilizing what we already have to make that a reality. And for people who are utilizing other people as your voice, unless you can't talk, don't do it. Like I've just done set it a precedence for myself. Unless you're saying something to my face, I don't hear you at all. Unless it's really important to somebody's life, actually, like. But if it's just to talk shit and blow off steam, you should have fucking said something about 5, 10, 20, 50 years ago. I don't have the patience for that right now. A matter of fact, I'm still cleaning up aspects of my own life, and like and choices to try to formulate my life around helping others. That has been very challenging and hard, and like trying to understand, and I shouldn't have to go, like, we have all these teachings. I should know how to take care of me, but also help my community as well. But I don't. And so that just goes to show and say, hey, um, like I've tried things which has ended up being a detriment in my life. So that may be an exaggeration, and I need to reel that back a little bit, because there are some ways that I need to strengthen and take care of myself that haven't been applied yet. I'm still just really annoyed by the confusion and the energy it takes to process stuff that I don't really understand, and that to me seem unnecessary to impose upon a person, which I think that was part of somebody's strategy to distract another person from the truth. And I just ended up in the middle of it. So, have a great day. Happy Black Friday. And, you know what? Buy that thing if you need to, but also understand from what I'm gathering, there's just, like I haven't faced any of this online stuff or magical stuff without consequences. And I just don't let myself go there. Why? Because my life has taught me that there is karmic repercussions. And there are karmic repercussions that we're still cleaning up from a long time ago. So that type of stuff doesn't interest me as a game or something to play with young people. And from what like, I want to give young people what I didn't get. You know, I didn't understand the power of growing your own food and herbs until my late 30s, 40s. I started messing around with it in my 30s. It's becoming more and more apparent now that that's important, and that should have been some of the stuff taught in schools before theory, or, you know, using somebody's product that they already made with what they learned in your grandma's day and age. So it's okay to have these types of games occurring. However, it's okay to pull back and say, oops, made a mistake. We need to go back to baseline. And I think University of Montana is kind of trying to do that now. So there's just steps that you shouldn't skip, and realizing that the real hard way.